Welcome to an all-new horror show entertainment interview. Today I will be interviewing Stephen Keck, and we tried this before, but during the interview his video and audio was inaudible. And it was hard to see because it was glitchy, but that's not his fault. And I suggested that we take a different approach. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask him the questions, and then I'm going to read you his written responses so that we can get it working. The first question I asked him was, how did you come up with the idea for Beyond the Casket? He said, I was working on my 6th book, Full Count at the time, when I came up with the idea for my 7th book, Beyond the Casket. I was heading towards an outlet mall in Virginia with my mom, and I saw a hearse pass by while we were on the highway, and thought that if there were a casket in that hearse, I hope it would be secured well enough not to fall out of it. This was when I started coming up with a plot for the book, and then wrote the book the year after I finished Full Count. The second question I asked him was, are there any sequels planned for Beyond the Casket? He said, at the moment, I do not have a sequel planned for Beyond the Casket, but if I were to make a sequel, it would actually be a prequel. It would explain the criminal life of Grand Solomon, who is the demon in the first, Beyond the Casket, and the climax and closing would simply be the way he dies. If there was going to be a sequel, it would not have a subtitle. It would simply be called Beyond the Casket 2. The third question I asked was, how long have you been writing for? He says, I have been writing since February 2010 when I was a senior in high school. The Final Destination movie series has been my passion for writing for a very long time. I also wanted to do something that not many people that I know have done, and that is write a book. I finished my first book, Domino Effect, in 2010. Domino Effect 2, Grab Death by the Horns, in 2011. Domino Effect 3, Sink or Swim, in 2012. Domino Effect 4, Inferno, in 2013. And Domino Effect 5, The Fallout of Oakstown, in 2014. My favorite is Domino Effect 3, followed by 5, 1, 4, and 2, which is similar to my favorite to least favorite of the Final Destination series, except 5 and 3 are switched. Following the series, I finished Full Count in 2014, Beyond the Casket in 2015, and The Walk On in 2016. Now I am currently typing up my 9th book, Paranormal Drivers, which is a story about twins who embark on a journey around 48 contiguous U.S. states in search for the most haunted road in each state. I am also currently typing up a collection of short horror stories that I have made up. I have 2 written down already. My passion for doing these short horror stories is Mr. Nightmare's YouTube channel. However, none of these short stories are from his ideas. The fourth question I asked was, is there any other stories you want to tell in a novel? He said there are plenty, 14 to be exact. I will give you 2 ideas plus a summary of the 2. Then I will give you the titles of 12 more possibilities for a 10th book. High Roller. The plot of this would be, there is a food addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and the premise of this one, gambling addiction. A homeless man loses every last penny at the casinos and has to survive on the streets for the time being. That is until he meets a professional gambler who is willing and able to show the homeless man the tricks that he uses to make big money. But at what price? Is he truly helping him? Is he just feeding his addiction? Is he trying to get him in trouble with the casino workers? The lengths that this man will go in order to stop the living on the streets are unfathomable. The Tux. The plot of this would be, a man leaps to his death on his wedding day, after being abandoned at the altar. Once his tuxedo rental is returned, the unfortunate others who rent that same tuxedo also commit suicide, because the suicidal spirit of the man still resides inside of it. Here are the 12 other story titles I have thought of in no particular order. Domino Effect 6, Till Death Do Us Part, Don't Hang Up, Tornado Alley, Beneath the Pipes, The Ashes, is Don't Drink the Kool-Aid, Ouija Baby, Molly, Beyond the Casket 2, Aftershock, There is Blood in the Water, and Buried Alive. The fifth question I asked him was if there was only one way you could describe Beyond the Casket to someone, what would you say? He said, this book will have you wondering what is going to happen next. That is how I would describe Beyond the Casket. Different things happen to the graves. The ironic last name that I purposely used for the family of three. The demonic spirit literally torments them while they are on vacation, and it will have you wondering what is going to happen next to the family of three. Because the occurrences with the demonic spirit seem to get worse and worse as the book goes on, until it reaches ahead at the climax and ending. The sixth question I asked him was, what is the longest book you've read? The longest book I've ever read is actually not a horror book, but it is a very popular book, and my favorite thus far in the series, and that is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. However, Stephen King has some very long books, and I have done some research on his books, and the scariest ones, in my opinion, are Salem's Lot, It, and Pet Sematary, but that is only after doing research and not actually reading them. The seventh and final question I asked him was, gore or suspense, which do you prefer? I would actually have to say suspense. This is because of the Final Destination movie series, which is what inspired me to write, like I mentioned before. It is both suspenseful and gory, in my opinion. When the movie begins, you pretty much know the order in which each person dies while watching the main premonition. After the premonition, the suspense will leave you thinking how each person is going to die, and the gore will give you the brutal way each person dies. So in this case, I would say I prefer a suspenseful, gory watch or book to read. And there you have it. That was Stephen Keck's answers to my questions, and also, happy birthday, Stephen. I wanted to do this earlier, but a lot of things were happening, so I figured, why not today? You know, perfect day for it. And I look forward to Beyond the Casket 2, because even though in my review I said it was not that good of a book, I still like the premise a lot. So I will definitely give it a check out. So as always, Lion Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below and to leave comments and subscribe.